There are several windows in the widget editor that you need to be aware of. First, we will be going over the Designer Mode window. The Designer Mode is where you will be spending your time designing the look of your widget. Here you can add and manipulate various UI elements such as buttons, images, and text, create animations, and assign events to your UI elements. There are several sections you need to be aware of when using the Designer Mode. The top menu bar is where you will find some general buttons for using the widget editor. Just like regular blueprints, you must compile a widget blueprint for changes to take effect. You also have a Save button, a Browse button, which takes you to where the widget is located in the content browser, some debug components, which we will go over later, and the Play button, which will allow you to play the level right from the widget editor. Also on the top right, you have the two modes you can switch between, the Designer Mode and the Graph Editor mode. The viewport shows what your current widget will look like. The dotted line rectangle is what will be rendered on the viewport when your widget is created. Everything outside of the lines will not be rendered in the viewport. You can change the size and aspect ratio of the window by clicking and dragging the double arrow around on the screen. You can see that when you click the double arrow, several common window sizes show up for reference. Now I want to mention that this rectangle is for reference only. If your screen size doesn't match the size of this rectangle, you may have problems viewing your widgets. You also have your zoom factor, which changes as you zoom in and out of the widget and pixel position. Then you have your current screen information for the widget and your DPI scale. In the top right, you can set various viewing options such as the dotted line visibility, widget locking, position snapping, and your screen size. The screen size is important because it will allow you to view your widget in the correct size and aspect ratio. So for instance, if you're building your application to PC, the aspect ratio may be different than if you're building to an iPad. There are multiple common sizes for everything from a tablet, to a phone, to a monitor or TV. The palette panel contains all instances of UI elements that can be used, such as buttons, images, and text. There are multiple groups to choose from, and the default widget types can be used to make most UI elements for a game or application. We will discuss more in detail some of the more common UI elements available later in this section. The hierarchy panel contains all of the UI elements currently contained in your widget. This will include buttons, images, text, scroll menus, and any other item. The items contained in your widget are nested in layers, similar to Photoshop layers. Layers appear more in front in descending order, so a lower element will sit on top of a higher element. Some elements can only contain a certain number of child elements, such as a border or a button. Others can contain as many child elements as you want, such as a canvas or a horizontal box. The Animations panel contains all animations in your widget. You can create all kinds of animations to make your widgets more dynamic. You can animate most of the primary properties for each UI element. To the right of the Animations panel is the Timeline panel, where you will create animation tracks for your various widget animations. You can create and set keyframes, add or remove tracks, and view your animation tracks in the widget window. Please note that 427 has separate panels for the animation and timeline panels. We will go over animations in more detail later in this course. The Details panel contains all information about your currently selected UI element. This is where you can change things like size, color, and alignment, and also where you will create and assign events for buttons and inputs.